الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله اللهم صل اللهم رب
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وسلم وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتون إلا وأنتم مسلمون. أما بعد, truly our praise is due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We praise Him because Allah Azza wa Jalla has created us to worship Him, and the means of worshiping Him is the means to knowing Him. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created us in the best of forms, and also too within inside of ourselves given us the best of gifts, which is Iman. And so we praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that beautiful gift of having Iman, and also too having the chance and the ability to abide within the abode of infinity, which is Jannah, inshallah ta'ala, that we all gather there like we gather here today. So we praise Allah Azza wa Jal. We praise Him and we seek His assistance. His assistance is embodied within the life of Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He shows us the way to attain Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance in every single affair. He shows us the way that we can connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala within even what we can perceive sometimes as being the mundane things of life. That the Prophet ﷺ is the beautiful rope in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has extended to us. It's a beautiful thing. Not only is he the walking Quran, but also he shows us how to become truly human. So we seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's assistance, and we seek Allah Azza wa Jal's beautiful forgiveness that not only erases the sin, but also to erases the effects of the sin on others, and also to serves as a protection, and serves as a force that begins to motivate us, and begins to actually inspire us to do even more good. So we seek His forgiveness, and we also to believe in Allah, and we put our trust and dependency upon Him in every single matter. And we seek refuge with Allah from the evils of our own egotistical impulses, and also too we seek refuge with Allah from when those actual impulses actually become action and come into form. And whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decides to guide, nobody can lead them astray, and whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows to go down the path of misguidance, nobody can bring them back. And we are witnessing within inside of our lives that there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah, the one with no partner. And we are witnessing that Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is His servant and His messenger. And may peace and blessings be upon him, his family, his companions, and you, my dear brothers and sisters. Allah Azza wa Jalla reminds us in the Quran, O you who have attained faith, O you who have taken on some type of faith, meaning that you have at some level begun to trust Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be conscious of Allah. So He's reminding us again to even dig deeper within inside of our consciousness, to attach to Him through our intention and through understanding and having a direction of what we're doing. O you who have attained faith, be conscious of Allah, which is His right. And do not perish, do not die except in a state of actively submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Alhamdulillah, the last time that I was up here, I talked about a hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was a few months ago. that talked about a situation where Abu Umama, which was one of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ, that he came into the masjid, or he came into the masjid in a certain state. And reminding everybody that we all come in here with baggage today. There's something that we want to achieve. We came here because Allah and His Messenger ﷺ have reminded us to come to this place. We are obligated especially as males, to actually come here and begin to fulfill the right the right that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has over our soul, to attend Jumah, to attend the day of gathering, to remember Allah collectively and to move out on that once we leave here. This is actually a right of your soul. So, Abu Umama comes into the masjid, which is a beautiful place of remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, a beautiful place of angelic realities and all the things that are inside of a masjid that we see and we don't see. And he comes in with stress, he comes in with despair. He's overwhelmed with debt, which sometimes you run into in life. Sometimes you feel like you're overwhelmed. Sometimes you feel like there's no way out. Sometimes, especially from a financial perspective, right? We begin to see the process, or we begin to see the things in a dark space, in a dark perception of things. There's no way out. There's no hope. What am I supposed to do? You feel overwhelmed. It almost melts you down, right? It almost melts you down. We get into those situations sometimes. Certain people in here today may be in that certain situation. So this is a remedy. So, again, in the beautiful hadith, the Prophet ﷺ sees Abu Umama in that, and he says, should I teach you some words that if you say them, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will relieve you from hamamaka, from your fear, and also to grant you what you want, and also get rid of your debt, right? So one of the things that I want to remind us is, before I go in, because I'm going into the second part of it now, but I'm just going to go over briefly for a first part, is to remind us of something subtly about this hadith of the Prophet ﷺ and any saying of the Prophet ﷺ. Any saying of the Prophet ﷺ, any dua of the Prophet ﷺ has light within it. The Prophet ﷺ is a light from the light of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When they used to see him walk, they would notice about the Prophet ﷺ that he had no shadow. Because nothing has more light than him that's created. So when you speak words of the Prophet ﷺ, inside of them is a light. Inside of them is a guidance. Inside of them is a cure. Even if you don't understand it, even sometimes if you don't even believe it, it will have effects. This is the way of the Prophet ﷺ in and of itself. So when he's teaching Abu Umama some words, it's something to be understood. Because many times, what we do is, if a person's in distress, a person's in despair, a person's in some type of situation, we try to figure out how to remedy the situation right away, but not first going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Right? And also too, the words of the Prophet ﷺ fall within inside of this ayah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqallah wa qulu qawlan sadida. And then look what Allah says. يُصْلِحْ لَكُمْ أَعْمَالُكُمْ وَيَغْفِرْ لَكُمْ ذُنُوبَكُمْ وَمَن يُطِعِ اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ فَقَدْ فَازَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks the truth. You hear this in the khutbahs many times, all the time when the khatib is up. Oh, you will retain faith. Speak a word that is sadid, in line with truth. And now after the book of Allah, who is truer than the Prophet? Nobody. Nobody, the whole world is not truer than the Prophet ﷺ. So he's giving you some words that are going to correct your actions, are going to correct your situation, right? And sometimes when we try to solve things, we try to go from our own selves. We try to come up with the idea first within our, okay, well, I can help out, maybe I can do this is what I can do. There's actually a hidden secret inside of this. Ibn Atala Iskandari, Rahimullah, one of the great scholars and awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, said a beautiful thing. There's a subtle mercy that we miss out on sometimes. And this is a very subtle thing. And this is even in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that I'll get into in just a moment. If you're in a situation, and I tell you this, you try and test this. This is one of the things that they'll tell you in the books. If you read any book, especially of spiritual development, which I recommend, and it's actually obligatory upon all of you too. Because it's obligatory on you to purify your heart. It's obligatory on every single one of us in this room to seek out a methodology to purify our heart. That's the way the wonders of your abilities will come out. By purification of the heart. That's on you to do it. But he says a beautiful subtle thing. And this is something about Tawheed. If inside of a situation, when you have a situation, I don't know, a death happens. I don't know, you have debt. I don't know, you have an issue with somebody and you don't know what to do. He said that if you realize within inside of yourself, when you're asking yourself, how do I get out of this? You're cut off from a subtle mercy if you're saying, how do I get out of this? But if you're saying inside of yourself, Ya Allah, help me to get out of this and show me the way. Or Ya Allah, how are you going to get me out of this? Then you're in contact. And this is a lot of times we fall on our own knowledge. This is a subtle thing in spiritual development. You fall on your own self with your skills and abilities. You have to remember, you were given skills and abilities. You got to remember, you were given choice. You didn't make it yourself. Even inside of your life, you have limited choice and skills and abilities. And even in your choice and what you think you have choice, it's a limitation of choice. See how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala shows how powerful He is. That even in what you think you can choose to do, you only have a limitation inside of that. Say even you wanted to do haram, you have a limited choice in that process. You have a limited choice in all these things. Even if you look at some of the tycoons who have acquired massive amounts of wealth, doing something wrong. If you try to embark on that, you have a limited choice. You can't even get that far, maybe. And I'm not saying to go that way, but I'm saying take a look at the power of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So choose the right path. So choose that part when you're sitting in this moment, when you get up for prayer, even when you get up for prayer. Ya Allah, how am I going to draw closer to you through this? It's not your skill and ability. You only knock at the door. Are you standing here clearing your mind? You're just knocking at the door. It's Allah who gives you the gift of really understanding Him. So the Prophet ﷺ, so that he comes in with despair. Remember this. He comes in with despair. He comes in with fear. He comes in with debt. Abu Umama, radiallahu anhu, he comes in with this. And he comes in and he sits in the masjid. So put yourself, again, to remind us from the last time, put yourself what? In a place where you're going to remember Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He puts himself, and when we know in the masjid of the Prophet sallallahu, his residence, if you're sitting here in the front, if anybody's been there, his residence was right where the grave is. So the Prophet ﷺ comes out and says, yeah, I remember, I see that you're sitting here and it's not prayer time, what's wrong? And he says, I have this despair, I have this debt, I have this. And then the Prophet ﷺ brings him back to that subtle place that I just talked about, that Ibn al-Talaq points. And he says, should I teach you some words? That if you do this in the morning when you arrive, and if you do this in the evening when you go to rest, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not only get rid of your fears and your anxieties and your debts, but will answer you, right? So he says, say, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan, wa a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wa kasali, wa a'udhu bika min al-bukhli wal-jubni, wa a'udhu bika min qalabati tayni wa qahwi rijal. He says, say again, and in translation, he says, I seek refuge in you from worry and sadness. I seek refuge in you from weakness and laziness, and I seek refuge in you from cowardness, or being cowardly, and miserliness. And I seek refuge in you from being overwhelmed by debt and the subduing aspect of human beings upon you. So he says to say this in the morning and the evening. First and foremost, the first thing before we get in just to incapability, ajal, and the weak laziness, kasal. The first part to really focus on is Allahumma inni a'udhu bika. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you. Understanding your situation, that you are a creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah azza wa jalla has created you, and He's given you all the skills and the capabilities, and all the knowledge comes from Him. And that in any situation that you find yourself in, just first and foremost, put yourself in a pure situation. Put yourself in a situation where you're at least mentally trying to get closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and sit down and understand that you have no power, no state, and no strength except with Allah. And go back to that. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika. And then, min al-hammi wal-hazan. I seek refuge with you from fear, and also in his translation he puts from worry, hamman, like this debt, but this worry and this sadness that overtakes you. Sometimes fear, just in general, quickly, fear can melt us away. Sometimes we get into a worry, into a fear, or into a worry, and then into a sadness that completely just actually melts us and completely just ends up having a situation where we can't really move and we're not really mobile within inside of our lives, whether it be physically or mentally. But the thing is that giving it back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is the biggest actual lesson, to give it back to Allah, to really realize that Allah has sent it into your life and to reinterpretate it now. Now you have to go through the process of reinterpretation. One of the things that our society will tell us now, it will tell you to look at things very negatively. But what we have to do is do as the Prophet ﷺ has instructed us to do and showed us in his life, is to be optimistic. And understand and relinquishing thinking that you have the power and ability, but actually asking Allah to infuse within you the power and ability. So asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give you the way out. And He will. He will. You'll start seeing things happen into your life. You'll start seeing things happen into your mind. You'll see things, people actually pop up into your life. But the first and foremost, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to realize that there is no God but Him. He wants you to realize this through these experiences. It's not to punish you. It's for you to realize something. It's for you to realize your servanthood. Lordship is not for your taking. Servanthood is for your taking. And by you becoming a humble servant and having this humility, He raises you up to a lordly person. We have to just realize these simple things. So the first and foremost, the first part, again, Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazan wa a'udhu bika min al-ajli wa kasal. Ajzi is like this weakness or this incapability to move forward. What it is, to remember, it's not having determination also to inside of it. One of the things we have to remind ourselves as Muslims, that we are determined people. That we have to remember that we're on a journey, and in this journey we're going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're only here for a brief amount of time. And this incapability sometimes that we experience can be from a few different things. But one of the primary factors that will hinder us in our journey is sin. As you begin to actually do actions that are contrary to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prescribed us to do, that are contrary to the harmony in which the human being has been fashioned and formed and created, contrary to the harmony that's out here that you see when the sun rises and the sun sets and the rain clouds come and drop their specific mercy into specific places, and you watch things grow. When we do things contrary to what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Prophet has prescribed for us, what will end up happening, you will lose your momentum, you will lose your strength, you will lose your humanity. Our prayer in and of itself and the remembrance of Allah teaches us about determination, teaches us about being focused, teaches us and gives us the ability to do that. By staying within the remembrance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I just don't mean tasbih. I just don't mean saying subhanallah, alhamdulillah. And the remembrance of Allah is when you walk out of here and you keep your head high. And that as you encounter things that are contrary to the harmony that I just spoke about, that are contrary to Islam, you stay within that remembrance that you are a Muslim and that you are here to change this world, that you are here for a specific reason, that you are here to shine, that you're not just here to go with the vicissitudes of time, that you are with the appointer of time, and that you don't allow time to influence you and you just move with it, but you're with the one who created time, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You'll see this. As times change, you'll see people change because they're with time. But a Muslim always elevates. Yes, they do change, they evolve and become better. But it doesn't move their foundation. It doesn't move their foundation. And what ends up happening when you are with the appointer of time, when you are with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you become a beacon of light in darkness. That's who you are. That's who you are. Remember who you are. That you are determined people. And when you have that feeling that you are weak, that you are incapable, submit to it and go find your strength with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's the thing that the Prophet is teaching us there. That when Abu Umama is in that situation, that he can find his strength first and foremost with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then you move out. So that's one ajzi. Al-ajzi. Right? It's this weakness. This weakness. And then kasal. Laziness. This is the laziness, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us throughout the Quran about being lazy. Warns us in so many places about being lazy. One of the things why he warns us about being lazy is because you have been given the universe inside of you. If you look at your whole body, just from a molecular structure and veins and all these things, you have the whole universe inside of you. You have just veins that go, I think they wrap around 3 times or 4 times around the earth. What else do you think you have within the soul? So when you come to prayer lazy, right, these are signs of something that has to improve. Doesn't mean that you're bad. There means there has to be some improvement. There has to be some improvement. Maybe there's something of how you're misperceiving Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Maybe you haven't established a relationship with Allah. Even though when you hold your breath and you watch that you have to breathe again, is it you breathing or are you being breathed into? Even though He's keeping you alive and He's giving you all these experiences, you haven't really noticed that in a while and kept the connection. But this laziness sometimes that you experience, and it happens. You don't want to get up for Fajr. You don't want to do these things. It's because you haven't opened yourself up to love yet. You haven't established the connection. Taking the certain methods to it. Such as, like, again, when the Prophet talks about doing this dua, this opens yourself up to determination. This opens yourself up to not being lazy and to having momentum. By doing the dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, reading the Quran, beginning to understand and learn and sit down, and also to taking it into action and putting it inside of when you smile at somebody. Like when we leave here today, one of the ways to remain conscious of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very simple, my dear brothers and sisters. When you say assalamu alaikum to the person next to you when you leave here, say it with a sound heart. Say it with an actual attitude that you actually really wish peace for that individual. That you really want that peace not only to flow into their heart, but also to be involved with their family and also to the generations to come around them. Actually, when you look at the person, look at that person's heart just today. Just for a moment. That you actually have the care and concern when you say assalamu alaikum. And it's not just something that we just repeat. And you'll see the benefits of it, inshallah ta'ala. Allahumma gfir li mu'minin wa mu'minat. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد في المرسلين وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد في الملأ الأعلى إلى يوم الدين والحمد لله رب العالمين. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. So to conclude very quickly, just on the 2 aspects, and I'll repeat the dua in just a second. If you find yourself in a level of not feeling capable, that's actually a very powerful place. Because that's the opportunity for you to connect to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And as you connect with Allah, as you ask for the capability, then move out on it. And inshallah ta'ala, through moving through the action with the remembrance of Allah within your heart, you'll see your capability expand, inshallah ta'ala. And remember, the subtle point inside of yourself. When you get up to pray right now, when we get up to pray in just a couple minutes, inshallah ta'ala, Come to the prayer that it's not you praying. And what I mean by that is that come to the prayer that Allah Azza wa Jalla has facilitated this whole process for you. And ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before we takbir, Ya Allah, allow me to really benefit from this prayer. Because it's not you who's going to be able to engender that. This is a gift from Allah first and foremost. You come with your attention, you come with your intention, you come with attention, you come trying to understand what's being said, you come poised inside yourself. Those are all the means. But it's ultimately Allah who opens up the gate. And when we begin to see that within inside of our life, now your capability will change. And as you approach these doors more of remembering Allah through your tongue, through your mind, through your heart, through your action, then your laziness will change. If you're finding yourself lazy for salah, well, let's go and analyze what's going on before the salah. Are we just skimming through Instagram, and we're just looking at TikTok, and we're just taking all that light and all those things that are changing our dopamine, changing our response, changing our impulses? Are we just doing that, or are we focusing before we get to that time? Are we doing other things in our life that are going to make us impulsive, that are going to make us lazy? But are we doing the thing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us for, was to worship Him? And that means to know Him. And so are we taking the means to know Him, which is the different beautiful acts of worship that ultimately bring us in harmony within this world? So again, if you're having problems, and you came in here with debt, you came in here with anxiety, you came in here with worry, and even if you didn't come in with any of those things, you want to continue on, the Prophet ﷺ said to say this in the morning and in the evening, and in 3 times. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min al-hammi wal-hazani, wa a'udhu bika min al-ajzi wal-kasali, wa a'udhu bika min al-bukhli wal-jubni, wa a'udhu bika min qalabatataini wa qahri rijal. Oh Allah, we seek refuge in you from worry and sadness. Oh Allah, we seek refuge in you from weakness and laziness. Oh Allah, we seek refuge in you from cowardice and miserliness. Oh Allah, we seek refuge in you from being overwhelmed by the debt and the tyranny of human beings. Inshallah ta'ala. إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وعافنا فيمن عافيت وتولنا فيمن توليت وبارك لنا فيما أعطيت وقنا شر ما قضيت فإنك تقضي ولا يقضى عليك وإنه لا يذل من واليت ولا يعز من أبيت باركت ربنا وتعاليت اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات والمحسنين والمحسنات الأحياء منهم والأموات اللهم إنا نسألك من خير ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم ونعوذ بك من شر ما سألك منه نبيك محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأنت المستعان وعليك البلاغ ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد في الأولين وصل على سيدنا محمد في الآخرين وصل على سيدنا محمد في المرسلين وصل على سيدنا محمد في الملائكة الأعلى إلى يوم الدين سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين الحمد لله رب العالمين أقيموا الصلاة. الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله حي على الصلاة على الفلاح قد قامت الصلاة قد قامت الصلاة الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله. Inshallah ta'ala, straighten the lines. Inshallah ta'ala. Anybody who has their cell phone on, please turn it off now. Allahu Akbar. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. لإيلاف قريش إيلافهم رحلة الشتاء والصيف فليعبدوا رب هذا البيت الذي أطعمهم من جوع وآمنهم من خوف. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الرحمن الرحيم مالك يوم الدين إياك نعبد وإياك نستعين اهدنا صراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين آمين. إذا جاء نصر الله والفتح ورأيت الناس يدخلون في دين الله أفواجا فسبح بحمد ربك واستغفره إنه كان توابا. الله أكبر. سمع الله لمن حمده. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. الله أكبر. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Thank you everybody for coming out. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you for making the journey here, for sacrificing some of the beautiful time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you for His remembrance. And may you, go out in that manner, back out into the world with hopefully, inshallah ta'ala, something that you benefited from. Also too, we have some construction going on both sides. Those were actually new, because you say, I'm trying to think of the name, the blocks, but pavement, it's not actually pavement, but it's actually like certain blocks. But alhamdulillah, we have 2 construction projects going on. We definitely need your help as much as possible. Everything obviously is super expensive, as you see. as inflation is going up and everything is changing. So anything that you possibly can help out on, that'd be great. Also too, please, inside of your du'as, keep everybody who is sick, everybody who is injured, everybody who is in a dire situation inside of your du'as. This is always needed. And also too, if you cannot donate to the masjid, for any of the students, if you can give maybe $5 a month, $10 a month, these things make huge changes. But if you can't donate, at least inshallah ta'ala, please try to inspire somebody else to donate, but also to keep us in the dua. The dua is very powerful, especially when there's a group like this in the building. They say that there's one awliya of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at least within the group, and if that person makes dua, it changes everything, and I've seen that happen. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you. And if you have any comments or questions, the administration is out there in the hallway. If you have any comments or concerns or anything, you can just bring that to them. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you and accept your Jumah, accept your du'as. And, you know, Ramadan is coming. Ramadan is coming. It's right around the corner. And so we're planning this year to try to have an extra day of iftar. So your donations are needed now to begin to start that process, inshallah ta'ala. And we're hoping to have a blessed Ramadan with some more programming. And please keep us in your dua. Assalamu alaikum. Rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.